Everyone knows that Inside Out 2 is one of the most incredible movies ever made by Pixar, but do you know all the fun facts that surround this sensational animation? For example, at some point in Inside Out 2, you might have wondered how the new emotions knew so much about the actions of the old emotions, and how Anxiety had devised such a complex plan to the point of already having a headquarters formed to create scenarios of bad things that could happen to Riley. The answer lies in Pixar's drafts. In them, we find a scene that ended up not being animated, which would show the group of new emotions trapped inside a waiting room with cushioned chairs watching a television. The idea was that there would be a sort of hidden camera in the center of Riley's emotion command center that would transmit everything happening inside to the new characters. This would help us understand how they knew so much before even going there. This is definitely a fun fact that surprised me a lot. Check out now the 15 fun facts about Inside Out 2 that you probably didn't know yet. One of the biggest questions on the minds of many Inside Out fans when the new emotions were shown in the first trailers was, where were these new emotions in the minds of the parents and adults from the first movie? We managed to find the answer to this question in the post-credit scenes of Inside Out 2. In them, we see the Anderson family having dinner and discover that there is an anxiety emotion in the minds of both Riley's father and mother, but they are literally resting behind the curtains, and the parents' maturity made them stay under control. The girl's mother's emotions use a tactic similar to the protagonist's emotions, a good cup of calming tea, while Riley's father's emotions discovered that watching games calmed his anxiety. Did you know that when Anxiety was still blue, before the animators decided that the film's villain would be orange, one of the writer's ideas was to make her a kind of werewolf emotion? That's right, the idea would work more or less like this. Every time the emotion lost control and made Riley too anxious, she would automatically turn into a kind of big furry animal with a monstrous face. This would be more or less an alarm indicating that Anxiety had completely crossed the line, and she would become so big that she would be taller than Embarrassment, who is the tallest emotion among them all. Even though Anxiety's color and shape could change between different designs made by Pixar employees, there was one thing that was a company mandate and never changed: the character's messy hair. The idea was to give the impression that the emotion is always so focused on the future that she never lives in the present enough to care about having a minimally pleasant appearance, just like Disgust does. And I'll tell you, thank goodness there's no beauty contest among the emotions, because poor Anxiety would come in last, almost tied with Fear. And if you think about it, they would actually make a pretty fitting couple. Now, talking about the dynamics of the emotions, we notice two very interesting curiosities involving them. For example, when we go inside Grace's mind, we discover that just like in Riley's mind, Anger likes to take out his frustrations on Fear, as is evident when he slaps the purple emotion, causing her to spill tea on Grace's mind control table. This indicates that Fear seems to be Anger's favorite punching bag in all possible minds. And if you've made it this far, it's because you definitely like new information. So if you consider yourself someone who loves curiosities just like us, comment #curious to let us know. About Anger always hitting Fear, it seems that this only applies to the minds of the teenagers in Inside Out. That's because we notice that in Riley's father's mind, the dynamic between the two emotions is completely different. In Mr. Anderson's case, Anger leads the emotion control center, and Fear, who would have thought, is his right-hand man, following all his orders and being the emotion that Anger asks for opinions and the best solutions. The film's director, Kelsey Mann, is over 40 years old, so he didn't feel confident enough to direct a film that would show how a 13-year-old teenager thinks and feels nowadays. To solve this situation, he had a great idea. He asked for the collaboration of 9 teenagers between 12 and 14 years old to help the team understand how the minds of today's teenagers work and how they feel. Based on the testimonies of this group, the 5 new emotions were chosen, developed, and presented in the film. And I have to say, this group of teenagers did an excellent job. Going back to the original ideas for the Inside Out 2 script, there was another really cool one that ended up being put aside. The idea was that Envy wouldn't be a girl, but a boy. And more than that, he would have a twin brother, Jealousy. What would differentiate one from the other would be the hat that each of them would wear. The idea makes some sense, since in both cases the concept of possession exists. However, in the case of Jealousy, the idea is to possess something and not share it with anyone. In Envy's case, it's about possessing what belongs to someone else and making it yours. They would kind of work as a team, where Envy would take what belongs to someone else or copy it, and Jealousy would make sure no one else could take it afterward. I think you get the idea, right? The problem is that after consulting with a specialist, a psychologist, the film's director concluded that one emotion has nothing to do with the other, so the idea was discarded, but Envy remained. Embarrassment, unlike Envy, was supposed to be a female emotion. Moreover, her appearance would be completely different, as she would have characteristics that she would want to hide at all costs, such as braces, glasses, and very big hair. But this was also changed. Speaking of the appearance of emotions, Inside Out 2 ended up confirming a curious theory that had been raised since the first movie, that Riley's emotions are special. This basically refers to the appearance of the emotions because when we saw the minds of both Bree and Grace, we noticed that each group inside their heads had characteristics similar to their owners. For example, in Bree's case, the emotions have braided hair just like the girl. They also wear glasses, and their clothes are the same colors as hers. In Grace's case, the principle of hair and clothing color also applies, making them all really look like their owner. This ends up proving that for some reason, Riley's emotions are the most different from each other so far. If you've made it this far, then we have good news for you! To avoid missing the next videos here on the channel, just click the subscription button below. A friend warns a friend. Taking advantage of the fact that we just talked about Riley's friends, we noticed another really cool curiosity involving the two. When the emotions see the islands of the girl's mind, they notice that the family island has become quite small, while the friendship island has become gigantic. What few people noticed is that this same friendship island is also much larger than the hockey island. This shows that in the protagonist's mind, the closeness with her friends is even more important than playing hockey, which has been her passion since she was little. Right at the beginning of the movie, we see that Joy and Sadness, who are now great friends, take the elevator and go to Riley's conviction center. And when they are making the trip, we notice that they pass by the abyss of forgetfulness. It's in this place that one of the saddest scenes of the first movie happened, which is the one where Bing Bong ends up disappearing from Riley's mind forever. In the movie, we saw that after being suppressed by anxiety and her group, the emotions go to Riley's vault of deepest secrets. And there, after Lance Slashblade fails miserably, the emotions are freed thanks to the protagonist's deepest secret, which with a small punch completely breaks the jar they were trapped in. However, one of the initial ideas created to explain how they escaped from their prison involved Sadness as the main savior. This is because the blue emotion would cry so much that the jar would flood and the lid would come off naturally. Another option was that the emotions would stack on top of each other with anger at the top, and he would use his flames to blow the lid off. But in the end, neither of these options was used, as we explained at the beginning. Throughout the movie, we discover that anxiety and the new emotions weren't the only ones making mistakes in Riley's mind, since even Joy realized that throwing away some memories ended up making the protagonist not learn anything from her own mistakes. And when we see the mountain of discarded memories, we discover two things. First, the top of the discarded memories pile was so high that very soon, even if anxiety and the new emotions didn't appear, Riley's mind could have another conflict. Moreover, another very curious detail is the fact that in the mountain of discarded memories, some of them were yellow, either totally or partially. This indicates that not only sad, angry, or fearful memories were considered unnecessary by Joy. In fact, happy memories were also sent to the same place. In other words, the criteria of Riley's emotion leader were really doing something quite strange in the girl's mind. If you are as curious as we are, you'd definitely like to see cool and new things, so we have left two very cool videos for you to watch right now if you want. You just need to choose the one you prefer and click on it, so we can keep having fun together. I'll see you in the next video then. See you later!